Hi, my name is Alex Fisher-Wagner, and this is Crash Course Apartment Hunting. I'll be your host today, and today we're going to discuss how to find an apartment at college. Okay, I'm not that good of a hankering, so we're going to just do this my way. So it's winter quarter, it's your first year at college, and it's about time that you are going to take the next taste of adulthood, which is finding your own place to live and paying for it. Well, some of you might pay for it, but a lot of you, your parents are going to pay for it. So, kind of adulthood. But you're going to be flying away from the dorms and you're going to be moving into a place to call your own. It's a bit of a tricky process. There's a lot to figure out and a lot to take into account for. And I'm hoping that this video will help guide you through that a little bit. So, I'm going to try to break down this whole process for you. So most of you that watch this channel are from UC Davis, but if you're from another college, this will probably apply to you just the same. So almost all of you are going to choose what I would say is the most popular option, which is to sign a lease to a house or apartment. As this is the most popular option, there is a lot of stress because everyone else is trying to figure this out too. And you would probably like it relatively close to campus. You probably don't want to be commuting an hour or 2 hours to get to school. So let's just take a hypothetical. Let's say that your ideal off-campus housing living situation is the following. You'd like to pay $500 to $600 a month for your own room, but you'd like to also live with 3 of your other friends. You'd also like to have a laundry unit inside of your apartment, and you'd like to be relatively close to campus so you're not soaking wet when it's raining. The problem is there aren't a lot of places that fit that criteria, and the other issue is that they're going to be really competitive. So how do you even approach finding a place with that requirements, and how do you even start looking? I want to break it down into what I would say are 5 categories for you to take into account for when you are choosing a place to live. So number 1 is the proximity, and I think that this is an incredibly important area to pay attention to. The reason for this is that when you have apartments in Davis, they tend to be more expensive the closer they are to campus, and the price starts to drop off the further away they are. So let's say you're within a half-a-mile radius of the circumference of the campus. You're going to probably pay a bit more than someone that's 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 miles away from campus. So this is something to keep an eye out for, because if you'd like to live really close to campus and you want to just bike every day or walk to campus every day, you might end up paying a little bit more than you would if you were to bike a little bit longer every day or take the bus. So that's the first thing that I would say you need to be aware of is personally, how far away would you like to live, and are you willing to pay the price for living close, or would you rather save some money, maybe get a nicer place by living far? So that brings me to my second point, the niceness. Now, niceness is subjective, and honestly, a place that I might consider nice, you might consider even nicer. So I don't want to try to define it, but the way that I've been thinking about it is just the overall state of the apartment. You know, does it have granite countertops? Does it have a double oven? Does it have a beautiful bath and shower? How big are the bedrooms? These are the things that you're going to take into account for when you're looking at the niceness of a place. My place in Wake Forest isn't the nicest. However, there's a lot you can do to make it feel nicer. One of those things is the furniture we've put in and how we've decorated the place. It makes it feel homier and it actually makes it feel nicer. Also, getting rid of yellow incandescent light bulbs and putting in white ones gives it a newer feel. However, this is totally optional, and it's something that, you might consider very important, or you might consider is something that you can save some money on and go for a place that might not be as nice, but maybe it's closer to campus. Or you might go for the cheapest and somewhere far and somewhere that's just not that nice. It's also something to keep in mind if you're living with people that do care about their living environment and how it looks. Number 3, the amenities. One of the things that you're going to find is when you're looking at apartments, you're going to see that there's amenities that are provided. These could be things such as a gym, study rooms, socials, a volleyball court, a pool, a hot tub, a barbecue. These things are all going to fluctuate the price of your rent. So places that have all the things I just mentioned are probably going to be closer to $1,000 a room, versus places that maybe only have 2 of those are going to be a little cheaper, maybe $600 to $700 a room, depending again on the niceness and the proximity it is to campus. Another one of the things to think about with amenities is, are you actually going to use those amenities, or does it just sound nice on paper? So UC Davis has a group of apartments called West Village, and they have a ton of amenities. They're really nice. A lot of people have compared it to like a cruise ship. They definitely pay more than I do when it comes to their apartment, And the only amenities I have are the pool, the hot tub, and the barbecue, which are only open for a certain amount of time a year. And we have laundry that's on site but not in unit. Number 4. This is definitely one of the most important ones to think about, is the number of roommates you want and which roommates you want. So the number of roommates is going to affect your price and also your living situation. So if you're going to live in a 4-bedroom townhouse apartment and you're going to live with 4 people total, you're each going to pay for the price of your room. So basically you're going to divide the house by 4. So if the rent of the house is $2,400 and you divide that by 4, you're each going to pay $600 a month. And you're going to get to split your electricity, your water, and your internet in 4 as well if they're not already included in the lease. I'll talk about that a little bit later. The other thing to keep in mind is food and how you split that. So, if you share all your milk and your eggs and your bananas, you can split that 4 ways as well. But if you each need your own milk and your own eggs and your own bananas, then the other thing you have to think about is, with 4 people living in a place, do you have enough fridge space for that? So, okay, let's say $600 was a little expensive. Let's say you were looking something more like 3. You could try to do 8 people in a 4-bedroom townhouse. That's 2 people per bedroom, and you're going to split the cost 8 ways. However, you do have to realize that you're living with 8 people, so there's going to be more garbage, there's going to be more dishes, there's going to be more food, there's going to be more of everything, and you guys have to be able to set rules and boundaries about that. I'll make a separate video about finding roommates and finding housemates later. Let me stress that it is incredibly important that you have clear communication with your housemates and roommate, because that's going to save you guys from having passive-aggressive arguments and weird shit going down. So that's my warning, make sure to do it. Okay, and number 5, and the final thing, which is probably the biggest thing for you to maybe go over with your parents or to go over with people that have already done this, which is a lease. The biggest difference between living in the dorms or living in an apartment is the lease. In the residence halls at your university, you have a contract, which means that if you were to get sick, you were to leave the university, you could just say, I'm leaving the university, and they would just end your contract. You wouldn't have to pay any more. With a lease, you're legally required to pay every month's rent for 12 months until the lease comes to an end and you decide either to renew it or you decide to not. This means that if you take any time off, especially during the summer, you still have to pay those months' rent and you're legally responsible. There are some other things with the lease that you should know. One of them is that leases can be by the bed or by the whole apartment. Some leases are by the bed, which means you are going to be paying for the bed and not the whole apartment. This means that if you pay your rent on time every month and your other housemate doesn't, they're legally responsible for just their stuff because they're not paying for their part of their bed. You're fine. However, leases by apartment are going to be slightly cheaper because you're just legally responsible for the whole apartment along with anyone else on the lease. And if one of you doesn't make rent on time, then you're all going to be held responsible, and you have to work it out amongst yourselves as roommates to make sure that you each are accountable for what you need to pay. Leases will have addendums that are going to cover other things. My lease covers my utilities of water and garbage, and I pay my own gas and electricity though. Some leases are going to include your internet. Some leases also will let you have pets, like my lease. So you definitely want to read over the lease when you go and figure out where you want to live. So those are kind of the 5 things to pay attention to. However, it's not the only things that you should pay attention to. A few of the other things that you should be aware of is the competitiveness of apartments. In college towns and cities that have colleges, apartments and housing in general is getting more and more competitive. And this means that apartment companies are resorting to other ways to give out leases, especially when they have wait lists that are 100 to 200 people long. So some apartments, you are going to find that you can walk in, you can ask for a tour, and then you can ask if you can put down a deposit. The deposit can be something as low as $200 to $300, or it could be as high as double the first month's rent. Once you have a deposit down, it means you've secured that apartment. However, not every place is that easy. Some places are going to have a lottery or a wait list. The way the lottery system works is that you go ahead, you put your name on the list, and because of the competitiveness, they're going to draw names at random to see who gets an apartment that year. The best way to get into a place that has a lottery system is to actually know someone that is on the lease already and see if they can add you to their lease, and thus you will get the apartment when they leave. The other thing about that is that lotteries usually aren't announced till the spring, and sometimes all the other apartment complexes have filled up. You have to kind of use a backup sometimes if you're going to do the lottery system, and see if you can find someone that really wants to live at one place but is okay with you leaving, or vice versa. My final bit of advice on apartment hunting, or even this works for houses too, is to actually go look at the place. Go have someone that lives there show you around. Go talk to people that have lived there and see what they like about it or dislike about it. And I would definitely say that, you could just end up with a bad experience, or you could have a really great one. I know a lot of people I talked to disliked living at Wake Forest, or they were just kind of meh about it. And the reasoning was about the management, or because of the heat during the summer, or how cold it got during the winter. And honestly, I've found that it isn't terrible. I've really enjoyed it, and I've really made this place feel like home. It's going to be how you treat that experience. Some people just want to use their apartment as a place where they come home at the end of the day, sleep, and just eat breakfast and go out. For me, it's also my home. It's where I live, and so I've made it feel that way. I'll be posting a video about roommates coming up this following week. I will also be doing an apartment tour this coming week, so you can see what a college apartment looks like if you don't want to go out in the rain and explore it. I will also host a apartment hunting Q&A if you'd like. Please just let me know in the comments below if that is something that you're interested in. Feel free to leave questions in the comments below, and good luck apartment hunting or housing hunting, and make sure when you're choosing your roommates to choose carefully, and as always, don't forget to be awesome.